Welcome to our Atomic MFG. Normally, if someone asks what I do, I tell them I'm a figure sculptor. My inspiration comes from the expressionistic films of the late teens and early 20s in Germany. The figures that I do are documentary. You know, I mean, this is actually trying to take something from another time and bring it into 3 dimensions small. The approach is way more like a documentary photographer trying to capture that one certain little time or the soul within the thing that gives you the feeling that you want it to have. So the first big horror film was The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and that's Dr. Caligari there. And this is Cesare, the sleepwalker. I relate to that figure to a certain degree because he's in that film he's a sleepwalker, and I think we're kind of all sleepwalkers in a way. You know, we'd like to think we're all in control, but we have other things controlling us. If you take a good look at him, he is the Crow, he is Alice Cooper, he has all these Gothic images. They kind of stem back toward that. You're not going to find a big company that's going to want to do a Cesare figure. It's just not profitable for them. And that's kind of like where idiots like me step in and do these things. I don't see it as a negative thing. I don't like it because it's negative and down. You know, it's not that at all. It's just, I think that really pleasant things are not something that they're that interesting. Certainly not visually is interesting. This is where it starts. This is the basic plan sketching for Maria from Metropolis. I gather the reference material and scale it down. From that point, it's constructed. It starts with a wire armature. From this point, you add on the material. The interesting thing about these is that they're almost like ghost images because it's so far removed. A lot of the people involved are dead, so it's lost information. I mean, how are you going to find out certain little details about that? And that's where you kind of have to fill in the blanks with intuition. The figurines come assembled or unassembled, depending on how you want them. Most people buy them unassembled because they want to add their own touch to it, and a lot of them can't afford to have them painted.
Basically, this whole room was done by Thomas. He put it all together, he built all the display cases, he painted the room the way he wanted it to look. Thomas is very bizarre. He likes a lot of different ideas that most people wouldn't make model kits out of.
What I create mostly in this studio is figure sculptures, but there's also illusions and weird little accoutrements that might have been found at the turn of the century or in the 1920s on some eccentric's table. This is my design, but the mechanics are based on an old dispenser. Basically, this little guy, he gives you your little cigar out the backside here. He's a little pill box that mechanically opens up this way. The mechanism here serves as both a lock and a little visual entertainment. It seems like the older I get, the more I'm appreciating kind of going backward in time rather than, everyone else is going digital and CG and all that. And it's interesting, but I just don't find that quite as interesting as a whole. It was way more interesting, these like weird, choppy old silent films and the more like a handmade approach to these things.